You're listening to the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. Now here's your hosts, Kevin, Derek, and Alex.
Alrighty, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. I am Derek, and joined as always by your co-host, Kevin. Kevin, how are we doing tonight?
Doing good, man. It's been a little wet and rainy down here in Texas, but I've had playoff hockey keeping me nice and busy here in the evenings, and I continue to say this: the older I get, the more I really enjoy it. And every year, I just seem to get further entrenched into hockey, and it is probably, at least at the moment, it's my clear number 2 go-to behind football of any kind. Professional and college football, then hockey. So I guess it's number 3, but still, It's been good. It's been keep me busy. Obviously, getting ready for the draft. That's exciting. Yeah, and just kind of letting life plug along, man. We're doing really good though.
Good. And we've got it's certainly a lot of sports on, right? Like we talked pretty extensively last week about some of the golf side of things. NBA playoffs have started as well. The NHL playoffs are in full swing as well. So lots of sports coming on, right? We've got the draft 2 days away on the football side of things as well. So lots of sporting events going on this week, and certainly a good time to be a sports fanatic. And if you're into baseball, they've started their thing as well in the early days of the season. So certainly lots of stuff on and lots of stuff to be paying attention to. We'll get into some of the news and notes on the NFL side of things there, but anything else that you want to kind of hit up before we start jumping into that?
No, we actually at least have a couple of news topics this
Right.
week. The last couple of weeks it's been a little slow, just random smoke signals that aren't truly viable. Maybe not viable. We're not able to validate. So we've kind of just been brushing around some things, but this week we do have some relevant news here that's appropriate even with the draft upcoming.
Right. Well, and kind of starting off into one of those right there, right? Like last week, we were talking pretty heavily about Dexter Lawrence and the two sides rumored to be not being able to make a deal, and a trade was likely to happen. And sure enough, we saw that happen over the last few days here, where Dexter Lawrence is now heading from New York to Cincinnati, going to be a Bengal, and the Bengals giving up their number 10 pick. So the Giants have 2 top 10 picks going into this draft. So that's an interesting kind of scenario. Any kind of thoughts, anything that you're thinking that they might be kind of looking at there with 2 top 10 picks?
Well, I think if I'm the Giants, I think it gives them some flexibility to to see if they want to go playmaker, right? This brings Love into the conversation for the Giants, where we really haven't considered that. But now I think he's fully in that conversation because this is more of a defensive draft. So if you can get Jeremiah Love early, and I know you just drafted Cam Scadaboo, but if Jeremiah Love is this generational talent that everyone's talking about, it's at least something they have to entertain. If not, then they're going edge rusher, and they're probably also going somewhere in the secondary. So you could see, something like a Reese or the guy out of Tech.
David Bailey.
Bailey, that's right. You could see Reese or Bailey go with their first pick, and then at number 10, you could see Caleb Downs.
Yeah, potentially.
And do something like that, and really just load up if they decide not to go skill position. But I think it's a real opportunity for the Giants to take this young nucleus that they're already starting to form. You got a couple more instant day one starters, and you're just pushing right ahead. And now you're pushing for second place in the division. I still don't know that they're better than the Eagles, but I think they become on par with the Cowboys and Commanders. And so now it's the battle for second in the NFC East to see who can stay healthy, who can get hot, and who can maybe sneak in as a wild card.
Right. Be interesting to see how that one comes to play there, right? The um some smoke screens kind of coming out from some of the different areas out there as well with some of some of these things your kind of rumors out there, right? Like at this point, we saw things kind of heat up there around AJ Brown talks and the Patriots,
Mhm.
and seemingly have kind of cooled off at this point. But it does sound like there's potentially a deal in the works on a post June 1st type of time frame where Brown's salary cap hit can start get to split up a little bit between the teams there. So be interesting to see how that one comes to play there as well. But it'll be interesting to see how that deal ultimately, if that deal happens, how that ultimately takes shape.
Yeah, it we talked about this very briefly before we went on the air, right? And it's just trying to figure out what that compensation looks like from the Patriots over. Like, is it, are the Eagles kind of saying, "Hey, we want you to draft this guy and he's going to be part of the package?" Or is it more um next year's draft that they're going to be looking at and saying, "Okay, we're going to trade him afterwards, so now it's next year's first in 2027, and maybe we swap late round picks or something like that, whatever it looks like, kind of what the Broncos did for Waddle." So I am curious to see what this compensation looks like, but Brown has been very clear for quite some time that he's kind of done with Philadelphia. Like, he's ready to move on and kind of do something different. So now I'm interested to see what that compensation looks like, how the Eagles attack the draft, and what it means for Devonta Smith. Because remember, the guy's a Heisman winner.
Right.
Like, he's no slouch. He doesn't have the body to be a true X. But realistically, the way the Eagles run their offense, they don't need a true traditional X. They need guys who can run after the catch, good route running, and sure-handed to catch the ball for when Jalen Hurts is moving around in the pocket just a little bit. So maybe this helps them in the long term. They get some of the ego out of the room, and they can just get back to playing schematically sound football.
Right.
So I am curious to see how it goes, but we'll see and make sure this thing still continues. But we'll definitely know more here in 6 weeks.
Right. Absolutely. Some other kind of rumors floating out there, right? There's rumors about the Chiefs potentially trying to move up into the number 2 or number 3 spot. And kind of being linked towards a pass rusher up in that range. So be interesting to see how that one comes to play. And if the Chiefs do make a move, right? The one of the other things that we saw happen as well, the Cowboys managed to get a free agent signed or get a contract done this week, making Brandon Aubrey the highest paid kicker in NFL history. A lot of folks are wondering when they'll see if they can get a deal done with Pickens, but that seems yet to have happened there.
Yeah, that thing's gonna run its course.
Yeah,
Like, the history has taught us one thing about how Jerry likes to handle wide receivers and running backs for the most part, right?
Big name tickets, right? Big name players.
Yeah. So I just don't know how the Cowboys can sustain their current roster construction, just unloading the boat for your quarterback and 2 wide receivers. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And
Right.
I don't know. This draft is going to tell us a lot for the Cowboys. 2 first-round picks. You're still trying to plug some holes and get a group effort that's a little bit more precise, maybe a little bit more flexible than what Micah Parsons is as one player, and go from there. So it's going to be interesting to see how they feed into this.
Right. So yeah, very interesting how that one's kind of played out there, right? And you hit the nail right on the head, right? We've seen this play out many times where The Cowboys seemingly have a kind of a contract issue with one of their bigger name players going into the offseason. And yeah, things don't really get much traction, it seems like, until about August. And then all of a sudden, either a deal gets done or somebody gets shipped out of town. Like, I don't think we'll see this one any more traction on that until about August, around the Pickens side of things, and what that looks like. So
They're going to let him get into training camp and see if Pickens shows up. And he probably won't. And I don't necessarily blame him. The problem is, especially for fantasy purposes, right? When these players aren't in training camp, there is a function of regression
right.
that's associated with it. So if Pickens doesn't show up for camp, okay, maybe he misses a day or two, maybe he misses a week, but the longer or the more camp he misses, the further down the draft board he's applied for me.
Yeah. Yeah, which that's kind of the same way it is for most of these players when they start getting into hold ins, and the contract thing starting to spill into training camp. It does seem to have a very adverse effect on season outcomes, especially at the beginning of the seasons. So yeah, kind of is what it is, and we'll see how that one plays out here. And I think we've got a long way to still go with that particular one. Any other news notes, anything like that you want to hit up here before we start kind of diving into a little bit more of the meat?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Nothing that's relevant. I could bring up a whole lot of things that aren't relevant, but nothing that's relevant to keep us on task. How about that?
Fair enough. We do have a kind of a fun little episode tonight, right? We're gonna go off the beaten path here a little bit, right? We've done a whole lot of mocks, we've done a whole lot of this, that, and the other when it comes to the draft, and pontificated ad nauseum with that. But we're gonna take things a little bit of different route here, and just have some fun, right? We're gonna play some. We got some trivia games out there, trivia questions around that. We've got a feud style type of game when it comes to some of the draft side of things. That should be some fun ones there, and you've got some questions and some interesting tidbits in there as well. So should be a good one. Let's unless you've got another place you'd like to start, let's go ahead and start with some trivia.
Sounds good to me. Let's do it.
Alrighty. So this one here, right? It's 3 rounds, 10 questions in each round, and the questions get the rounds get progressively harder as we go on that one, right? So first round is going to be kind of the easier round. The second round is going to be kind of a moderate type of round, and then the third round gets a little bit tougher. So should be a good one here. Let's go ahead and start diving into it though. Round 1, question 1. How many rounds are in the NFL draft?
7.
That is correct. 1 for 1. I like it. Number 2. What month is the NFL draft usually held? Line kind of cut out there. What was it?
April.
Correct. 2 for 2. I like it. What is the nickname given to the final pick of the NFL draft?
Mr. Irrelevant.
All righty. 3 for 3. Which position is most commonly selected first overall?
Modern era or total?
Yes. Modern era.
Quarterback.
Correct. You're 4 for 4. Question 5. Who announces most of the first round picks at the NFL draft?
Like Roger Goodell, the
Correct.
commissioner of the NFL.
Correct. Yes. Either answer was acceptable. You're 5 for 5. Question number 6. What round was Tom Brady selected in?
6, 199 overall.
Correct. And 6 for 6. And I like the fact that you even put the pick in there. That's awesome. All righty. Question number 7. How many picks are in the first round before there's any sort of compensatory picks, if those occur?
32.
Correct. Question number 8. When seeing OT next to a player for the position on draft boards, what does that stand for?
The offensive tackle.
Oh, I like it. You're 8 for 8. You're flying through this one. Question number 9. Which player was drafted number 1 overall in the 2021 draft?
that Kyler's year?
No, Kyler was far before that.
2021?
It was the year after Joe Burrow went number 1.
Yeah, that's not helping for some reason.
2021 was our first year that we did the first round draft special.
Yeah, that doesn't help me either.
Highly
But
hyped.
good.
Highly hyped. Number 1 overall pick.
Caleb, it's not Caleb.
No, it's not.
Joe Burrow, highly hyped. It's not Trevor.
Yes, it is.
Oh, I thought he was 20. He's 21?
Yeah, Burrow was 20 and Lawrence is 22. Or 21, sorry.
Oh, look at that.
There you go. You stumbled into
Give myself a half point. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's true. I'll give myself a half point.
We'll call it 8.5 out of 9. All right.
Yeah.
All righty. So when seeing QB on the draft board, what position does that stand for?
Quarterback.
All right. You're 9.5 out of 10 through the first round. So on the easy round, you missed that half point there, but let's go ahead and move into round 2. This does get a little bit more in the moderate range. Question number 11. Which school did Joe Burrow play for before becoming the number 1 overall pick?
SU.
Yep.
And for that, Ohio State.
Yeah, it's the question wasn't looking for it was the directly before, but you still got it with the LSU. So I like the fact you took it back even further than that. Question number 12. What pick overall was Micah Parsons in 2021?
I want to say 8, but I don't. I think he was a little bit later than that.
I remember we were slamming the table on our draft
We
special.
won the Broncos. Yeah, we won the Broncos to take him.
When the Broncos drafted Pat Surtain at 9 and Surtain was still on the board. So
that's right.
It was not 8.
So it was like 11 or 12 then. I don't know. Pass.
It was 12.
It was 12. Okay.
Okay. All righty. So question 13. Which quarterback unexpectedly wow, that's a tough word tonight. Unexpectedly slid to pick 24 in the 2005 NFL draft?
2000. Oh, last year's draft.
2005. 20 years ago. 21 years ago.
20 years ago.
21 years ago. The player's still active, if that helps you out.
Rodgers?
Yes. That is correct. All righty. Pick number 14. Which player was nicknamed Mr. Irrelevant in the 2022 draft?
Brock Purdy.
Correct. Number 15. Which school did Justin Herbert attend?
Oregon.
Correct. So I believe that's 13.5 out of 15. So you're rock and rolling through here pretty good at the halfway point. Which position did Kyle Pitts play when drafted 4th overall?
Right in.
Yep. Alrighty. What is question number 17? What is the earliest round an NFL team can draft a player?
First?
Yes. So it was seeing if I could sneak one in there as far as kind of a tricky, too easy type of question there. Alrighty. This one we kind of gave it away earlier in the round there, but that's okay. Which player was selected 1st overall in 2020?
Joe Burrow.
Correct. All right. Question 19. Which school produced Patrick Mahomes?
Well, it was Texas Tech. That's what you're looking for.
Correct. Were you going to go back to high school on that one?
Yeah, kind of, but that's okay.
Okay.
Texas
uh,
Tech.
all right. I like it. Which position is rarely taken number one overall?
I feel like there's a lot. So I'm going to tell you tight end, center, defense. I mean, linebacker. I think there's a couple that you
There's
could.
there are go a little bit that we would be we were drastically surprised when this position is called even in day two.
Kicker,
There you
punter.
go. Yep. Yep,
Sorry,
exactly.
there's a
Especially,
couple that I feel like fit that one.
yeah, it could be, right? So, but kicker was the answer looking for there. So that's
Okay.
correct. All righty. So that moves us into round three. At this point, if my math is right, I think you're about 18 and a half out of the 20 on this one. So still rock and rolling pretty good here. Round three. Which school has produced the most number one overall picks?
Modern era or total?
Let's go modern era on this one.
Yeah, I'm guessing here. Blue Bloods. I'm gonna tell. Is it Notre Dame?
It is not
Yeah. So USC,
correct.
Alabama. Okay.
Yep, USC was it. So I believe we're still at 18 and a half on the 21 here, but I like it. Let's go ahead and move here to number 22. What overall pick was Josh Allen selected in 2018?
Ooh. Yeah. 16.
Nope, it was not that far down the board. It's number 7 overall.
7. Okay.
Alrighty, number 23. What round was Russell Wilson drafted in?
Third.
Correct. Number 24. Who was the first wide receiver selected in the 2021 NFL draft?
Jamar Chase.
Correct. What overall pick was Aaron Rodgers selected?
24.
Correct. Alrighty. So at that point, I think we're at 25. I think we're at 22 and a half here going into question 26. We got 5 questions left. Number 26. Which round was George Kittle drafted in?
Oh. Third?
No, that is incorrect. George Kittle was drafted in the 5th round.
Okay.
Those day 3 picks, they can produce some great players for sure.
Yeah, they absolutely can.
Number 27. Which player was drafted number 1 overall in 2012?
Hmm. 2012.
Another super hyped guy coming out of college.
Andrew Luck.
It was Andrew Luck. It was. That is correct. All
His
right.
draft year always screws me up just because he retired so young.
So early,
Like
yeah.
it just that's crazy. In a lot of instances, you could absolutely see him still playing in the NFL. He just decided to hang it up.
Right.
Crazy.
Okay, this one here might be a little bit tough. If we need some multiple choices on it, you let me know and we'll go some multiple choices. But 2018, which quarterbacks were drafted before Lamar Jackson?
Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, um, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen. Um, Was it Darnold? Was that the Darnold year?
That was the Darnold year.
Okay, so man, I feel like I'm missing a low hanging one here.
You are.
I got the two hard ones with Darnold and Rosen and
Yep.
Allen and is he still playing?
He is. We talk about him quite a bit.
Quite a bit.
We have mentioned his name many times on the show.
Is it Jared Goff?
It is not Jared Goff.
Oh, bummer.
But this player was drafted number 1 overall. It's no longer.
Is it?
Yes, it is Baker.
Is it Baker?
Yep.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, you got there. So I like it. That one there I thought might have stumped you. This one though, this one here is a stumper for sure. Okay, question number 29. Which player was selected immediately before Patrick Mahomes in 2017?
Immediately before.
Uh-huh.
Can I have can I get the team? Or does that screw it up?
No, it won't mess that one up because he's okay, so the
before
the team that drafted right before was the Cincinnati Bengals.
It wasn't Mixon, was it?
Nope. No, it was not Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon was Joe Mixon.
A couple years later.
No, Joe Mixon went in that draft, but he was a second round player, not a first.
So who did they pick in the first? I don't know.
So the answer was John Ross, wide receiver out of Washington.
Oh, okay.
So, like I said,
great
that one
returner, tons of speed, never quite made it all click in the NFL though.
Right.
But he had, honestly, he had a decently long career. He just bounced around a lot.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Like it was certainly a deal there, but one of those that, kind of that same thing where, they're backdrafting the position a few years later. Okay, this one here is one that, I'll preface it by saying kickers, punters are not in this mix here, right? Because of that one. But so this would be in the modern draft era as well. Final question. Which position has never been selected number 1 overall in the modern draft era?
Center.
Actually, I'll have to look that one up and double check that. The answer that I found on that was safety, but you say center, and I'm not so certain that that's not also in there. We may have to throw that question out.
Interesting. Okay. See safety. I mean, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's a poor question. It's a poor question because you're right. Centers also hasn't been drafted in there either. All right, so we're going to throw that.
I had multiple options.
Right. We'll throw that one out of the deal there. Give the point for it. Either one. So overall, though, I think if anybody watching at home that had the count on that one, I believe you missed about 2.5 on that one. 3.5 with the John Ross one, but overall, pretty darn.
I like that.
Yeah, pretty darn good.
I'll take that 90 percentile. That's okay.
All right. So, yeah, I thought you did pretty well. So awesome job there. Alrighty. So the we got a couple of other areas we'll focus on there. You had some interesting tidbits, fun facts, type of things with the draft. Let's go ahead and head there, and we'll kind of finish up with the last game here.
Sounds good. So I'm going to pose these as questions.
Okay.
Or do the best I can as posing them as questions, and give you a chance to see what you know as far as random NFL draft facts.
Okay.
Since the inception of the NFL draft in 1936, there have been 2 year draft classes, right? 2 draft class years that have not produced a Hall of Fame player. So the entire draft class is now retired or out of the league, and they have not produced a Hall of Fame player in these 2 classes. Care to take a guess on one or both?
I
did not know this. I would have assumed, honestly, I kind of would have assumed that every year had at least one.
I'm going to take a stab. I feel like there was one in the early 90s. I remember seeing this as a question somewhere out there before. And I want to say one was in the early 90s. Let's go.
You're sniffing around the right tree.
Okay. And I can't remember if it was 92 or 93, but it was one of the 2 of them. And let's go with the earlier one. Let's say 92. Was that one of them?
Well done, sir. Yes, sir. 1992 is one of them.
Okay. And then another one. So to just to make sure I'm understanding that the other were, so like it has to there can't be somebody still in the league playing on that one that hasn't made it type of thing. Okay.
Yes,
So
you have to have
okay.
finality, I think is the right word, to that draft class.
Okay.
So you can't say 2021.
Right, because that's and I want to say, like, I'm just gonna throw one out there, like, because I want to say that the draft was interrupted by like World War II, so I'm gonna say like 1944 as the other one.
You're a little too far back.
Okay, then I've got nothing then on the other one then.
So the other one would be 1984.
Okay. So that's only 40 years too far
84.
back.
Well, but 84, and hell, the fact that you got to 92 was impressive. I couldn't have told you either one. So 84 and 92.
Because the 84 draft was right after the Elway to Marino side of things there, right? Like because that was the 83 draft class that was super hyped, super pumped up. And then and that was part of the thing that led into that was the 84 draft class that was coming after that was largely considered to be kind of just meh. So, okay, no, that makes perfect sense. And I like that one. That was a good one. That was a hard one.
So, yes. So here's kind of a multi-part question. Okay.
Okay.
The first NFL draft in 1936.
Okay.
Started. How many rounds were in that initial draft?
They used to have about a bajillion of them. I'm going to say that there were 13.
Not quite that many.
Okay.
So the first draft, there were 9.
Okay.
In the 1940s is when it expanded to a bajillion.
Okay.
Can you put a number of rounds to the general phrase of a bajillion rounds?
I'm going to say 16 is where it capped out at.
You're halfway there.
32, huh?
There were 32 rounds in the 1940s. And then in it slowly started to reduce itself, but then 94 is when everything kind of reset and we have the standard of 7 that we have carried since 94.
Right, which, I mean, that's kinda crazy to think about that there were, like, 32 rounds in the 40s because there were only, like, a dozen teams in the league at that point.
Yeah, but there weren't practice squads.
Oh, that's true.
So it was before the practice squad and bringing guys in, make sure you had enough for camp and all these things. So it's just interesting. I never would have thought it would have been that many.
Right, that is crazy to think about.
Um, okay. Which and it, so which university has produced the most players that have been drafted?
So, it certainly seems like there'd be, like, a blue blood for sure on this one, right? Like,
Correct.
a
Yep.
school that's had to have been really good going back into, like, the 30s throughout. Um, since USC produced the number 1 overall, the most number 1 overall picks, I'm gonna go with USC.
So you're right there. USC is number 2, but only by a very slim margin.
Okay. Um, then it's gotta be some other, like, traditional powerhouses like, Notre Dame.
Bingo.
Oh, okay.
Bingo. So
Okay. Yeah, because I was gonna
you're
start
you're
saying
right
that.
there. Yeah, blue bloods, right? To get,
Right.
and Notre Dame has had 520 players drafted in the NFL, drafted into the NFL. But you're right, blue blood. You got to have a good enough franchise or university, right? Powerhouse to be able to put high performing players into the draft. So,
Right. Because if it wasn't one of those 2, I was gonna start, guessing like, Oklahoma, Michigan, um, probably an Alabama in there, like, some teams that have been really good for long periods of time.
mhm. How do I want to word this one? Because there could be a couple different questions off of this. I'm going to do this. In 1982,
Okay.
an NFL franchise drafted the wrong player due to a faulty speakerphone at the draft.
I know the story on this one, and the name escapes me. Um, like I yeah, I know the story on this one. I can't think of the name.
Okay.
I'm
It
drawing a
was
blank.
it, wa- it was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They selected Sean Farrell instead of Booker Reese, in case you wanted to know the players that were involved. That was like
Okay.
Faxgate before Faxgate, only with the
Right.
draft instead of free agency. Or what was it?
Right.
When was that, Derek? Probably 10 years ago now, maybe a little bit more. The Minnesota Vikings ran out of time and
Mhm.
like their pick got skipped.
Right. Yeah. No, yes, that was crazy. I'm trying to think of what year that was. Um,
I tell you, it's at least 10 years ago. And I think it's more than that now. Like just thinking like, did I have kids? Did I not have kids?
2003.
Okay.
2003 is when that happened, right? It
Oh
was,
wow. So 23 years ago.
yeah, they failed to submit their draft card before the 15 minutes like clock expired, and the trade wasn't confirmed by the league office, and then the Jaguars picked, and then the Panthers jumped ahead of the Vikings as well. And the Vikings ended up taking a guy a couple of picks later.
Just crazy stuff. Let's see. I have 2 more. And they're
Okay.
both centered around the very first NFL draft. So I think I might just give you these
Okay. Yeah, I don't know much
just
about
as fun
1936
facts.
NFL draft.
Yeah. So um Jay Jay Branger was the first ever pick in the NFL draft. However, due to salary disputes, he never played a snap in the NFL.
Okay.
So, with that in mind of not playing a snap in the NFL, there were 81 players selected in the first NFL draft. Right? Fewer teams. So,
Right.
81 players in the first NFL draft. Only 24 of the 81 actually played in the NFL.
Interesting. Okay.
So, again, definitely not the easiest set of questions, but things that I learned along the way. I found these interesting, and I learned something as I was kind of going through and looking at some of this. So I figured I'd share them with you.
I like it. Kind of in that same vein as the Jay, I just forgot his name, Jay
Branger.
Beranger. Yep. As a number one pick that ended up not playing for that team and all of that, wouldn't sign a contract with that team. There was another player, and much more recent, that was drafted number one overall by an organization. The player did not sign with that and ended up not playing with an organization, or being traded to an organization with that draft capital. Can you name the player?
The only thing that comes to mind is the Eli Manning ordeal.
It's about 20 years before that.
Yeah, see, I'm sure they talked about it, right, with the Eli, when Eli did his deal, but I couldn't put a name to it.
Okay. Here's a hint. This player was a two-way player, a two-sport player. Ended up not playing NFL, not playing in the NFL with that number one overall draft pick. Went and played baseball to return to the NFL a few years later.
Could have been Bo.
It is Bo. Yeah, Tampa Bay drafted him number one overall in 1986, and because of some of the things that happened beforehand, Bo ended up losing what's reported there is Bo ended up losing his senior eligibility of baseball at Auburn because of some of the pre-draft process with the Buccaneers. And Bo said that he wouldn't play for him because of that. And the Buccaneers still drafted him number one overall. Bo went on to play baseball, and then the Raiders drafted him just a few years later with a much later pick and brought him
in. Interesting.
Yeah.
I think they touched on that for his 30 for 30, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. They sure did.
30 for 30 about that. So
yep. Yeah, I think it was called "You Don't Know Bo" or something like that. But yeah. So
very interesting.
Yeah, that's one of those that it's interesting. You're right. We talked about draft bust, things like that. Like, that's almost one of those you could consider that a draft bust, because they spent the draft capital on that and never got anything in return for it.
Zero return. Yeah.
Right. So anyway, kind of a fun fact there on that one.
Absolutely.
We do have Millie Mills chiming in saying, "What's up, fellas?" Not much, Millie. You know how we doing it. It's Tuesday. We're having some fun with some draft info, draft quiz, draft trivia, and some games out there as well. So, okay. The next one, I got a little help from ChatGPT on this one. Kind of a feud style type of game here. And it's can you name the top 5 answers that ChatGPT generated off of this one? And so with this one, name something NFL fans hope their team drafts in the first round. I'm not hearing any sound.
Quarterback.
Yep, that is the top answer with 35. 4 other options to go.
Okay. Wide receiver.
Number 2 with 24.
Okay. Hell, running back.
Not one of the top answers there.
Okay. All right. So we're going to switch sides of the ball and go. Does pass rusher cover that, or do I need to say like pass edge rusher?
Nope. Pass rusher's number 4 with 13.
Okay. Shut down corner.
Quarterback number 5 with 10 on that. The number 3 answer is the one escaping you right now.
Offensive tackle.
Offensive lineman. We'll count that at 18. So you got 5, all 5 of them right there. I like it. Alrighty. Number 2. Name something a draft prospect does or can do to improve their draft stock.
Participate in the combine.
Combine workouts. Number 2 answer, 25.
Okay. Pro day.
Number 3 answer with 18.
Something they can do.
Mhm.
I mean, oh, this is it. I mean, they can have a really good final year in college. Like,
Yeah.
they're putting it on tape. Like, if they have a really good year and put it on tape and they didn't have the greatest year before, or they had just had an okay year before. I'm talking myself into it, but that's my train of thought, at least.
Right. And so some of this can be like, right, like think about what happens at the combine, right?
So
Like there's
a good team interview then.
interviews well, number 4, right?
Okay.
Something else that we've seen guys that may not have even had a, you know, really that good a tape or really that you know that impressive of some measurables, but they do one thing incredibly well that skyrockets them in draft prospects.
One thing incredibly well.
It is one of the highlights of the combine.
The 40, they run fast.
Number 1. That is the number 1 answer with 32. There's still one out there, and it's in the vein of the put things on tape. I don't know that this one here is a little bit harder, but I'll give you one more guess on it.
I'm going to say like collegiate award winner, like a Butkus Award or a Jim Thorpe Award winner, or Heisman, or like, just when you win awards, you typically gain draft stock by doing that.
All right. I like it that that was not the final answer that was on the list there. What it was Senior Bowl performance.
Oh,
so
okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Those kind of postseason, get ready type of performances there.
Okay.
Alrighty. Number 3. Name a reason NFL fans boo its draft pick.
Not the guy they wanted.
They wanted another player. Top answer at 38.
Okay.
I feel like the rest of these are all kind of right around there, but
boo. I mean, they boo the commissioner, and sometimes that makes it seem like you're booing the player. Like,
yeah. No, the rest of these are kind of a reach, I feel like, right? So obviously, right, they wanted another player, right? The number 2 answer is they reached too early, which I feels very much in kind of that same vein of they wanted another player. Wrong position, which again, it feels like in that same vein. Bad team needs or player has character concerns. So,
okay, I think it all funnels into that number 1 answer.
Yeah, that's why I just kind of we'll just kind of move on from that one. Okay, this one's a fun one. Name a phrase you hear during almost every NFL draft broadcast.
Guy's a playmaker.
We'll go with that one, right? The one of the answers was high upside, and we'll take that for the number 2 answer, playmaker, at number 24 or 24 on that one.
Generational talent.
Number 3 with 18.
Okay. Leader of men.
That one is not one of the options.
I'm calling BS on your answers then, because we hear that every draft. This guy's right. A leader. Here, Mel Kiper. This guy's a leader of men.
Right. But no, that was not one of the 5 answers ChatGPT came up with.
Okay. Something like high IQ player, right? You hear. I feel like you hear that a lot.
Yeah, that one of the that kind of fits raw but talented side of things there, right? Like that's kind of fits that one, which would be the 5th answer. Still need the number 1 and the number 4 answer.
I mean, all the makings to be a future Hall of Famer. Like,
Yeah, kind of on that same kind of high upside or raw but talented type of vein. Right, like think a little bit more maybe a little more obvious than that one, right? Like a BPA type of thing.
game wrecker.
So I like that one, right? They can probably kind of fill into that fills a team need type of thing. But the number 1 overall answer is best player available.
Okay.
So,
okay, they do say that a lot. Yeah.
Yep. Name a position. This one's an interesting one. Name a position that usually gets drafted too high.
Tight end.
Tight end, number 4 answer at 12.
Running back.
Number 2 answer at 23.
Guard.
Guard is not one of the answers provided.
Okay. Running back.
Yep, that one was number 2.
Safety.
Nope, not one of them that we see on the answer here.
Kicker.
Nope. Think of it, right? Like this one position typically goes very high in the draft, and it's a position that we see a lot of teams maybe move up to try and make sure they get the 5th year option on.
Quarterback.
Yep, number 1 answer with 40.
Offensive line.
Now, the other 2 answers, and I don't know how much I agree with this one, but wide receivers was the number 3 answer on that one, and linebackers were was the 5th answer on that one.
So I don't feel like linebackers go too early.
Not anymore, right? Like
That's
certainly seems.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Alrighty. Trying to see any of these other ones if I like them or not. Okay, name the person often shown in the draft room.
Person often shown in the draft room.
Yeah,
I don't know that I understand the question.
Okay,
like player.
Yeah. No, so when they pan into the war room right after a draft pick's made, name
the GM, the head coach.
1 and 2 right there. Yep.
Okay, so you're typically gonna have. I mean, your who else is in there? Like your chief of scouting is
scouts, number 4
typically
answer.
in that room. Owner.
Yep, number 3 answer.
Okay, so then number 5. I mean, I feel like you go a lot of places with number 5. Like I would tell you, like, you're right, wrong, or different. Everybody has their publicist in there. I would tell you, like, what do you want the press clippings to read to feed to the media afterwards?
I would say that fall in line with team executives, which was number 5.
Oh, okay.
So, all right, I like it. We got one more out there, and this one here is kind of a fun one, right? And it is name the biggest NFL draft bust of all time.
Biggest NFL draft bust of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, based off of kind of what we were talking about earlier, that Tampa Bay drafting Bo Jackson was.
I would put that in there as an honorable mention of 6. on that one. It's not one of the ones that they talked about here, right? And like, it's one of those that surprisingly just kind of gets overlooked as far as a bust draft pick, right? Like when you get nothing from it and the guy never suits up, never plays for you, you weren't able to, like, I don't know how you can't consider that, especially when he goes on and has a great performance with another roster, and you never got any compensation for the pick. Like,
Right.
anyway, I'll jump off of that soapbox for a second.
Well, I mean, Josh Rosen is a pretty stinking big NFL bust. I'm not sure if he makes the list though, but
he does not make this
a big
list.
Bust.
I would agree, but he does not make this list that they provided here.
Jamarcus.
Number 2 answer.
Okay. Ryan Leaf.
Number 1 answer.
Okay.
2 more of these are quarterbacks, and one of them is a running back.
One's a running back.
Uh-huh.
I think strike out on that one. There's been so many quarterback busts.
Right.
Joey Harrington.
I like that answer, but it's not one of the ones provided.
Man, that's about as random of a name as I could come up with, but he was terrible.
Well, so one of these guys is was a big name college guy coming in, right? Potential concerns around several things, but had some issues at the pro level. We'll just kind of say that. Now, 2 of these guys, here's another hint for you. The number 3 and the number 5, so one of the quarterbacks and one of the running backs, were both drafted by the same team. Different draft classes, but drafted by the same team. And an organization that has had some draft issues. Jamie's in the chat. He could probably tell you who that team is.
God, Tim Couch?
It's not Tim Couch, but you got the team right.
We're really going to go through the 35 quarterbacks the Cleveland Browns have drafted?
No, but this quarterback did win the Heisman. And is a recent Heisman winner that the Cleveland Browns drafted in the first round.
Shadur.
No, before Shadur.
There's no way you're counting Baker in there.
No, not a chance. But it is a guy that some people going into that draft told me that that Baker was going to have a very similar career arc as this guy. And that was Johnny Manziel was the number 3 answer that they're looking for there.
Oh, okay.
So that was that one there. Any ideas on the running back who was drafted to the same team that's considered
running back? No, I don't think I have any idea who you're looking at for a running back.
Trent Richardson was the answer they provided.
Oh, okay. And I do remember. Okay, that's recent enough. I mean, I remember that.
Right.
He did own some fantasy teams.
Yes, he did.
Okay. So that's 4. Who's the other one? Good.
Yeah.
I feel like I've named some pretty good ones.
You have. And actually, the other one, my apologies, was not I was thinking of a little different guy here. Was not a quarterback. He's actually a tackle, selected 2nd overall. And this one here, I don't know that you'll get it. So I'm going to come out and say it was Tony Mandrick.
Who drafted Tony Mandrick?
Green Bay in the first round, 2nd overall pick. Back in 1989.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know that I would have come within a stone's throw of that one. Interesting. Okay.
So anyway, kind of a fun fact around that one and some fun thoughts there. But yeah, that one I feel like we tested some knowledge pretty deep there.
Yeah, that one was deep. There's a lot more than 5 viable answers, I felt like.
Yeah. So, but that's part of the fun of the feud style on that one, is that there's always some really good answers that that don't end up being on the board.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, alrighty. Um, okay. Well, yeah, I think that's going to kind of take us down to the end of it. Yeah, unless you've got some other areas you want to rock and roll through.
I think so. I don't think so. So I mean, draft's 2 days away. So
Right.
y'all have fun. I hope you guys are happy with what your team does here in the NFL draft. I mean, I'd say the first round, but there's a third of the teams don't have a first round pick, and that means a third of the teams have multiple first round picks, basically. So,
Right.
no, not quite a third, a quarter, excuse me.
And not only
So,
that, right? Like we've seen that come through multiple times, that there's, you know, it's not necessarily the NFL draft, or your team's season isn't necessarily, determined by day one, right? There's 7 rounds of this, and
Mhm.
very, very good options at several of those rounds, right? Like Tom Brady, as you mentioned before, picked 199 overall, right? 6th round pick, was a franchise changing pick for New England for 2 decades.
Absolutely.
So, um, yeah. Any other thoughts out there for the viewers and listeners?
No, no. Enjoy. Obviously, we'll have a recap next Tuesday when we're back here. We'll break down the draft and kind of what we feel went right and what maybe didn't go so right for some of these teams. But there's armchair quarterbacking the draft is one of the funner things to do.
It's
Like it
very
just
true.
is, right? And sometimes you're proven right. Sometimes there's a reason that these highly paid people are picking players for these teams and we are not, and that's okay. But nevertheless, I'm curious to see what the Steelers do, mainly because they don't have a quarterback really on their roster at the moment, and they're
Right.
putting all their eggs in the Aaron Rodgers basket. So, do they draft an insurance policy? Maybe, maybe not. Um,
Right.
and then, yeah, just kind of seeing where these offensive pieces end up. There's not there. I don't feel like there's as many as there were maybe last year. Some decent players, but just not necessarily the high end talent of outright studs. So I am curious to see where some of these guys go, what these teams are looking at, and how the shaping of their rosters leads to the second or third wave, if you will, of free agent signings. Because there's a lot of older but high name, high recognition free agent players that are still left out there. So, we'll see how the draft falls, and then if that means they need to pivot a little bit and pick up one of these free agents for a year.
Right. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see on how that one all comes to pass, and we'll have a lot of fun breaking that down here over the next bit. When we're back on Tuesday. So should be a lot of good times, and hope everybody has a lot of fun, and be able to root on your team for the draft here. So do appreciate everybody tuning in, chiming in. But that's going to do it for us tonight. You can find us on all those socials: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at Good Old Boys FF. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. But that's going to do it for us. He's Kevin. I'm Derek. Have a good one. Be safe. Toodaloos.